I've got my learning hat on. We're going to start a new journey learning 3D. Has your initial progress been something like this? Okay, Mr. Britton, I just want to let you know that this is a completely confidential place, but if you can just start off by explaining to me exactly what it is that has brought you in to see me today. Yeah, okay. So, around about a year ago, I was on YouTube and I was watching videos of radio-controlled helicopters. This guy called MCK, he was doing these crazy maneuvers. I'd never seen anything like it. The helicopter was like cutting the grass and he was like twitching the tail and it was doing these TikToks. Oh, it was something just, I've never seen it. And I thought, you know what? I want to be able to do that. I'm gonna do that. So I jumped on Midland Helicopter and I bought myself the latest, greatest helicopter. I bought a big one, I put it together, I got a simulator, I did all the right things, I did loads of practice and I was going out to the field all the time. You know, I was actually getting somewhere. I was hovering kind of around tail in and I was kind of doing nose in and I could sort of do it. And then I did a flip and then I was trying to do TikToks. And I was using all the collective. I was really trying to make it look aggressive, like I'd seen other people fly. And I don't know, at some point it just stopped. I just couldn't really get any better, you know? And my wife in that period, she was looking at me like, she liked me, you know? Like, this guy's got drive and he's good. And there's nothing that I think is sexier than a guy that can fly remote control helicopters. So yeah, and now, I don't know, I hit a wall, you know? Like, she doesn't even look at me the same anymore. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get better from here. And I think I'm having a breakdown. I keep bringing back broken helicopters and my wife just won't look at me. Yeah, do you know what I could do? I really want to be able to do these twitchy TikToks close to the ground, but it just feels impossible. Oh no, I 100% understand. Not everybody can throw down a sick, twitchy TikTok on the deck. Well, I'm afraid that there's not really that much that I personally can do for you, but I can recommend to you Ben Flies RC YouTube channel. I believe that he is going to be putting out a whole series of videos to get you from the point that you're at to a point where you're really happy with the way that you fly. So maybe check him out. Okay, but seriously, I really do want to make some content that might be able to help people. I used to watch the Smack Talk RC videos when I was a teenager, and I loved those videos, and they really inspired me. I watched those videos and I thought, wow, this guy's doing a backwards inverted hurricane. I would love to be able to do that. And I did do it because they told me how to do it, and I was so driven by seeing it that I put the work in and I did it. And you can absolutely do the same with anything. It just takes time, right? And nowadays, there are so many great videos out there. RC Helicopter Richard has put out loads of content explaining all sorts of different maneuvers, of which I've used as I've come back into the 3D scene in the last few years to learn some of these newer maneuvers, and they are absolutely great, so absolutely check those out. But I thought I'll throw my hat into the ring and I'll see what I can do to help from my perspective. Now, I'm probably not going to be very nice about it. Let's be honest, some parts of learning are kind of dull. And you know what? Actually, if you don't want to put the grind in and you don't actually want to get better, don't bother. It's fine. Just enjoy flying how you fly. And that's great. And I really genuinely do mean that. But if you're watching this because you do want to get better at flying, then we'll try and make some bits of it fun, and learning some maneuvers is fun. But some of it is probably also just going to be a grind. But I'm going to show you what I think are important things to practice. And in today's video, we are going to look at absolute basics. However, they're actually really difficult. So this is almost going to be 101. And all the way through the series, we are going to build it up to a point that you're flying a full 3D routine. But when you're struggling with a point, come back to this one again. Always come back to this video. This is the Bible. And you're going to find that you're not that good at this, even if you're pro, because you can always get better. It depends by what standard you judge yourself. But these core maneuvers are going to make you so much better as a pilot. So let's try. Okay, so we're on my simulator of choice. Any simulator will do. I'm using HeliX and I use the Beta 11 physics. And first of all, I'm just going to say, the most important thing really is that you enjoy it. And stick time is going to help you more than anything. However, how efficiently you use your stick time is definitely going to dictate how much you improve. So A lot of the time it's very easy to just come on the sim. Let's say I know how to do some lazy eights, so I come on and I do my sort of lazy eights, and I do this because I know how to do it, and I come back and I get back to my tail in hover, I feel comfortable, and then I do my flip because I know how to do that, and I want to learn TikToks, and since like the input is only 2 inputs, I can kind of give that a go, and I'm doing it, and you know, if you enjoy it, it's great, and do it, but if you just invest a little bit of time into doing things that are less fun on the surface of things, but I actually think can be quite fun to try and improve at, then everything else is going to come. So I still do this. I actually recently started doing it in this way, and I find it really useful. So what we're going to do is a hovering figure 8 but a box on like straight lines, and we're just going to control it all the way along. So I got a cone in the middle, so that's kind of my center line, and I'm literally just going to move forward. Initially we just do tail in, and I stop, and then I move it to the side. Now watch if I don't change the collective and I try and stop, it climbs. So this is the kind of thing where we're just going to pay attention to things like collective management, so I want to keep it level. So I'm just going to reduce the collective there, so the helicopter stays at the same height, and then I'm going to travel this way, and then I'm going to reduce the collective and stop it in the center line, and then I'm going to move away from myself. And you get the idea, we're going to just do that as a box. So most people will be able to do this. However, as I say, like if you're going to try and do it really cleanly, you'll find that it requires more control than you would think. So that is a really simple exercise. And then obviously, as you're progressing, then you're going to start trying to do this nose in. So we go away, and then we travel this way. We manage the collective to bring it to a stop. Then we bring it this way. We manage the collective to bring it to a stop. Then we bring it back this way. And when you're really trying to control it through something like this, you really realize if you're actually weak at hovering in these orientations. And you know, it never really stops hurting my brain. When you slow it down like this, you can't rely on any muscle memory. You haven't learned how to do a TikTok because you're just moving the stick around and your brain's like, you're actually thinking about it and you're controlling it. And although in Fast 3D you can't think about it, in a maneuver like this you have time to think about it, and it makes you realize how difficult it can be to actually control it. So there's endless variations, right? So you can do it like this. I'm not going to do all of them, but you get the idea. If you really want to step it up, you can start like as you go around, you can snap the tail around during it, stop it in that orientation, then maybe we turn the tail and we bring it this way, and just keep playing. Don't even think about what orientation you're going to put it in. Just put it in a new orientation and try and stop it from that new orientation. And we just keep controlling it like that, and we just keep playing around with it. So that's going to really test your orientation skills. If you're already at the stage of doing flips, then you can use this time to also practice the same exercise from inverted. So you just do your inverted nose in, you come, you bring it to a stop, because now obviously your collective management is reversed. I need to put a bit of positive collective to keep it level and stop. And you really find that this is actually really quite difficult, and it really tests how much control you have of all your different orientations. So again, exactly the same principle that we used upright, we go around in a figure 8, and you can change the orientation, so we can do it then tail in. Now I'm telling you that actually doing something like this in all the orientations is incredibly difficult, but it will make you find out which orientations you're weakest at. And it will feel like you don't improve sometimes, and that's fine, but if you just keep dedicating a little bit of time to it, I promise you, you will actually get better at this. So there we go. That's like a core orientations practice maneuver. I also recommend like just traveling side to side in particular orientations and coming to a stop. So we're like nose in, and we just fly along the flight line, and then we try and come to a stop on this end. See, I gained loads of height there. That was really messy. So this kind of stuff. Just move the helicopter around. Put yourself into positions randomly in the sky that you might not normally be in, and then bring it back from there. It's really, 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 really going to help, and I still put time in to practice it. If you want to make it slightly harder, you know, sometimes I might do it as just like rolling away to step it up as you get more advanced, and maybe you're rolling in the same direction, you're using the collective to kind of push yourself along. So these kind of things, but they're all really orientation practice. Okay, so I think I've grilled that in enough. Orientation practice is going to make everything that we do in the future easier, so just keep working on it using those types of methods. The other thing that I think is absolutely core to 3D flying is being able to fly circuits or hurricanes when you start really putting them up on edge, but it's generally controlling the model. So with a similar principle, we were doing hovering boxes, we'll start doing, it actually doesn't matter whether we do a big circle, whether we do a figure of 8, you just want to fly, initially just fly forwards. And we are going to fly circles, which, if you really get it loaded up, is what people call a hurricane. And just pay attention to things like I want to keep it at the same height, and I want to keep the tail to be tracking along in the correct line, so sort of parallel to the ground. So if I don't put enough tail in, look, it starts drifting up, my nose is a bit high, and if I put too much tail in, my nose is kind of inside the turn. And that way, if you start making other inputs, it's climbing or it's descending. But if you have it locked, then you can get more and more disc angle on, and you're basically just increasing the collective and increasing the elevator input, and you can keep it absolutely... See, it's hard. And you can keep it absolutely locked on the plane that you're in. And then once you're doing it that way, I'll slow it back down because we really don't need to do that. But I'm just showing, like, if the core is there, you can really start winding it up. But always practice it in both directions. If you're going to do it like a figure 8, pay attention to the fact that when you roll it back the other way, it tries to climb. So you have to reduce the collective there. And it's just really working on collective management, on neat control of the model. And then when you feel comfortable, you just have to spend time. If you really then start slowing it down, if you haven't yet learnt it, again, it's just going to be time, learning what input it is, which roll input you need to do a backward circuit, which tail input it is. I don't really need to explain it because in a way you just have to feel it. It's the same input that you're doing here, but it's getting comfortable with the orientation. So obviously now instead of pulling, you're pushing on the elevator, you're rolling in a different direction, and you're pulling the tail round actually in the same direction. So each of these you just have to play with. But what I'm talking about here is not a lesson on how to do hurricanes. It's whatever stage that you're at, I want you to focus on getting them really under control and just keep coming back to this. Keep coming back to the control of it. And then as you get more advanced, we can just keep doing these same maneuvers, just making them harder for yourself. So, we started off doing it forward. I showed you briefly, you do it backwards. Obviously, then the next thing is you flip and you do it inverted. But it's the same thing, right? So I'm just doing a circle. I don't want the nose to slip like this. I don't want it to slip inside. I want to try and keep my tail completely locked on the horizon. That means as I start flying faster and harder, it's already cleaner. As soon as you let that nose wander, it's going to completely change your inputs. You'd have to be actually putting a non-pure elevator input in to keep it going around the same plane. So again, we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to keep practicing. I'm not going to practice it right up on edge, but I am going to make sure that it's neat. And then if we want to do it as a figure 8, I'm going to come around the middle, and then we're going to roll, and then we're going to go the other way. And we're going to pay attention to the collective management so that we stay at the same height, which I didn't. You see what I mean? Like, it's whatever standard you are, these things are difficult. So these are the basics that I want you to work on, because from those, we're going to be able to build amazing routines. If you get comfortable, even just flying up and down the flight line in straight lines, neatly, then all you have to do in the middle of that is roll neatly, and it looks cool. It's just all about tracking nice lines and getting that core control of the model to be really, really nice. And it's going to make you a better pilot. If you actually look at top pilots, when we were talking about this hurricane stuff, like, a lot of the time, a lot of the linking between maneuvers is some variety of that. They might come past the flight line and do some pyro-tic-tocs and then go the other way and blah, blah, blah. But in between, there's hurricanes, there's circles, and each of the maneuvers, they require control of hovering and all these orientations, like, This is the core of it, and it is really quite dull. But you can try and make it as fun as possible. And as I said, this is going to be the boring 101, but this is also the most important video. If you can improve this part of your flying, the rest of the series is going to be so much easier. I know that you just want to learn a pyroflip, but realistically, although you could, and I know you will, and I did too, but if you are not comfortable in the orientations that you're pirouetting in, then you're just learning muscle memory for something you don't have control over. So I told you I'm not going to be nice, I'm going to be honest. And if you really, really, really are here to get as good as you possibly can, you're going to have to focus on the basics. That said, I didn't do this completely. I didn't just sit here and grind this stuff because it gets really, really tiresome and your brain can't do it anyway. You'll just get overloaded. Just give yourself a small amount of time every day. Spend 5-10 minutes on it. Pick the thing that you're weakest at and work on that one and just slowly build it from there. And then, yeah, smack the sticks around. Have fun, you know? If I've made other videos by the time you're watching this, watch those videos. Try some of the more difficult maneuvers. Just see what the stick input is and give it a go because it's fun, I get it. But this is going to help you, I promise. Let's do this together. Let's get better at 3D. This is good for me too. I start doing stuff like this and I realise that I still have so many weaknesses. So let's all get better. I hope you enjoyed it, something a little bit different from me this time. If you did enjoy this, if you want more of this, then please do subscribe. Actually, extra please, if you could comment down below what kind of manoeuvres you do want to learn along this journey. I have a little bit of a plan in my head about what things are going to create a nice flight routine. And I want to get to a point that you guys can fly a full routine. But that said, I'm all open to requests. Tell me what you want to learn, and I'm happy to throw it in there. I'll see you next time.